This workshop was recorded live in early November 2020, and it's part of the Etsy U program. What is Etsy U? Well, basically, Etsy has been teaming up with experienced sellers and community leaders to bring you the latest resources and information to help your shop grow. I've done a whole series of these Etsy U workshops that are all available for free here on my YouTube channel. There's SEO, product photography, branding, and social media. The links to all of these workshops are available in the description below. I hope you check them out and that they help you grow your Etsy shop. All right, for those of you who don't know me, quick intro. My name is Jess. I've been running my Ethereal shop on my Etsy shop Ethereal since 2008, which I started, like many of you, as just a hobby business on the side. I had a full-time job. I liked my job. I just started making jewelry and I had too much and I'm like, how am I going to sell it? Discovered this little site called Etsy, which was very small back then, and started selling on that platform. And in 2010, I went full-time with my own handmade business and have been self-employed ever since. And I employ Nick, my husband, as well in the business. He makes jewelry, does admin, a whole bunch of other jobs. And in 2013, I started Create and Thrive, which is my education business, helping makers turn their handmade hobby into a thriving and profitable business. And that's what this is all about today. So that's why I was really excited. Last year when Etsy approached me about the Etsy U program, I was part of the pilot program for it last year. And that's when I did the SEO workshop. And I was happy to participate again this year. I've worked with Etsy in the past. I was one of their teachers for the Etsy resolution program back in, I think it was 2015, 2016, where we did a bunch of videos and did kind of a start of the year kickoff program. That was really fun. So I've worked with them a couple of times over the years, and just happy to be able to share this knowledge with you to help you grow your Etsy shop and your handmade business in general as well. If you're interested in learning more from me, obviously there's my YouTube channel. I have a podcast as well. There's a lot more content on the podcast that's not on the YouTube channel. It's just the Create and Thrive podcast, available anywhere you listen to podcasts. My blog as well, and my membership community, the Thriver Circle, where there's a couple hundred awesome people there who are learning together. All right. So this is what today is all about. Utilizing social media for marketing your Etsy shop. So we're going to cover these things: choosing the right channel for you and your community, telling your story through social media, engaging with your followers, building your calendar, and measuring success. So we're going to talk about all of these elements of social media today. If you're new to social media, this will be all of this will be really good for you. If you use social media for a while, the first little bit where I introduce the different social media probably won't be super new, but then we're going to get into the more detailed content as we go. All right. By the way, if you have any questions as we're going through the workshop, please don't hesitate to ask in the chat. If you want clarification, if you want me to expand on anything I'm talking about, that's why I'm doing these live, so that I can interact with you. And if you're watching the recording, you can leave them in the comments below the video and I'll hopefully see them and come back as well. Let's have a quick cup of tea. You can hear my voice is getting a bit hoarse for a couple of days of teaching. Not used to it. Not like the old days where I stood in front of a primary school classroom for 5 hours a day. I used to be a teacher once upon a time. All right, well, I'm still a teacher. I used to be a school teacher. Okay. So just a quick overview. I think this is probably a place where a lot of us are. Yes, social media is a great tool and it can mean the difference between success and failure. Not always. It's not necessary, but it is potentially sufficient as a marketing tool. But it can seem overwhelming because there's so many options out there, so much to learn about every platform. So today I just want to break down the different platforms and the essential things you need to know about those different platforms in order to decide which ones are going to work for you and your community. First thing is, don't try to do them all. Don't try to do, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, TikTok, Snapchat, whatever the heck else is the newest, fanciest social media. Yes, I think you should be on most of the platforms, especially the big three, so Pinterest, Instagram and Facebook. highly recommend you claim your business on those platforms. Have a page, have a presence, have your logo up there, have link to your shop up there, have some information and some pictures highlighting your work on those platforms. But don't feel like you have to be working really hard on all of the platforms all of the time, because you will burn out. There's only so much we can do. So what I generally recommend to my students is to pick 1 to 2 to focus on and make them your platforms, and then you can check in on the other ones and maybe update them, or there's ways to automatically post from Instagram to Facebook and things like that. So don't feel like if you're not doing all of them you're somehow failing. That is not true. The people who are really successful on social media tend to just focus on 1, possibly 2 platforms, and just do a really good job on those platforms. So how do you feel about social media? Let me know in the chat how you currently feel about social media. Is it something you really enjoy using? Is it something you find a bit stressful and overwhelming? So for me, social media, I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with social media. Sometimes I love it and I just feel like I'm in the right mindset. I enjoy it. Sometimes it just feels like a chore. Like, I'll be completely honest, because it's just like anything else in business. Things you have to do over and over, or life, things you have to do over and over again consistently can feel a bit onerous at times, and that's okay. But the difference between a hobbyist and a professional is that a professional does it anyway because they have to, right? If you're looking to turn this into a full-time business, your marketing is absolutely key. You need to work out a marketing strategy that works for your business, because otherwise you don't have a business. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be social media. Most of my business for Ethereal actually comes from search. So it comes from doing the work on search engine optimization, and also outreach. So I get traffic from like features on other people's blogs. So that's PR. So that's a whole nother way that people, can get traffic, but it can be a really good one. So Sarah's the same as me. It's a job unto itself. Yep. Takes a lot of time out of the day. Lani loves Instagram, but Facebook and Pinterest feel like a chore, but you do them anyway. Yep. Yeah, so it's a pretty common feeling. If you're not a natural extrovert, like you don't find it naturally, and I think a lot of crafters aren't, because we tend to be people who like doing things quietly by ourselves, right? That's why we do craft. If you're not a natural extrovert, it can be difficult to put yourself out there. And that's the thing, you don't have to necessarily put too much of yourself out there if you focus more on the products and more on the story behind the business. And we talked a lot about that yesterday in the branding workshop, so go check that out if you haven't already. I do think it's a good idea to have some photos of yourself and just get your face out there a bit as a handmade business owner, because it's all about connecting with another human being. And we'll talk more about stories and things like that. So Eric could work all day on social media. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about, more to the point, choosing the right channel for you. So let's overview. Who here is anyone here really new and really hasn't started on social media yet? Tell me how many years you've been using social media, whether it be personal, for business. Like, you might feel comfortable using it personally, your personal Facebook that only your friends and family can see, but you're not as comfortable doing it publicly. Like, I've been on social media. I started when did I meet Nick? 2007. The reason I remember that is because it's the same year I joined Facebook. So Facebook 2007, I would have started on Facebook and Twitter, which was all there was. There was only Facebook and Twitter back then. Instagram, Pinterest, all that came later. And I really loved it for the first few years. I really loved Twitter in particular. I made a lot of connections there, made some friends there. It was a much different place to what it is now. And Facebook as well, I enjoyed for a while, but I moved away from them. I don't really do much on Twitter anymore, or Facebook. Really, I focus on Instagram and Pinterest for my businesses now, because I think they're the right platforms for me. 5 years, comfortable for Lani. It challenges your introverted nature, yeah. 2009 on Facebook. And there's a difference between using Facebook for personal reasons and obviously for business, because you've got your Facebook profile, which is your personal profile, and then your business page, which is what you want to be using to market your business. Oh, 2004. You're an early adopter there, Eric. Okay, so let's start with Facebook. It is the biggest social media in the world still. 2.27 billion active users. What's that, a third of the world? Not quite half. A third-ish of the world's population. So 65% of Facebook users are under the age of 35, which is interesting to me because I always feel like it's a platform for older people now, but still there's lots of young people coming onto the platform. 96% of Facebook users access the site through their mobile devices. Users spend an average of 58 minutes on the platform per day, so that's an hour a day on an average. 78% of American consumers have discovered products to buy on Facebook. So there you go. Best for video content, especially live video. If that's something you're comfortable with, it's a really good platform for that. And sharing photo collections. So sharing collections of your work is a really good thing to put on your Facebook page, because people who come across your Facebook page can then just browse through your collections, and if they like it, they can. If you have a shop set up too, they can click straight through to your shop and buy it, which is awesome. Right, so Melissa's like, not a huge fan of my personal life, but Instagram's been incredible for my business. Starting using Facebook in 2007 from private use, 2011 for business, from Jack. MySpace, oh, good on MySpace. I don't know if I was too young for MySpace or I just didn't care back then. I was on LiveJournal. Does anyone remember that? It's probably an old diary of mine floating around on LiveJournal. Gosh, that was a long time ago. Okay, so that's Facebook. We all know Facebook. YouTube. A lot of makers don't really think about YouTube when you think about social media, but it is massive. 1.9 billion active users. I mean, think about how often you just go to YouTube to learn something or look for something, right? I mean, my dad uses YouTube all the time because he is Mr. Fix-It. He builds things, fixes things. So there's so many other old dudes on Facebook who have YouTube channels who teach all this random, well, to me, random and obscure engineering stuff, but he's all over it. So, think about the sort of people who are using YouTube, why they're using YouTube. If you are comfortable with video, it could be an incredible choice for you. I actually did an interview on the podcast about a year ago now. Oh, his name escapes me. Maybe Nick can go have a look and see if he can find the episode in the podcast list. If you just go to the podcast page, Nick, and search YouTube, it should pop up. There, with a young man, he's in his early-ish 20s, who grew up on YouTube, and he has a ring making business, and he has absolutely killed it. He has 12 staff now just in a couple of years by doing weekly YouTube videos showing how to make different rings, and it's just been an incredible marketing tool for him. His business is booming. So you might not have thought about it, but it's an amazing platform, and you can also run ads on there. So it could be another income stream for you as well, if that's something like doing tutorials, showing behind the scenes stuff. It's always an option. YouTube channel. Hillary has a YouTube channel. Awesome. Okay. Social media for 15 years. Yep. Awesome. Okay, so 90% of users between the ages of 18 and 44 have access to YouTube. No surprise there. 70% of users access through their mobile device, and 90% have used YouTube to discover new brands or products. Great for long form video, absolutely, and not good for quick updates. No, that's what Instagram and Facebook are for more so. You found it, awesome. Thank you very much, Nick. Sarah's that was a great podcast. Excellent, so you guys can all go listen to that later. Let's talk Instagram. Yeah, it's free to have a YouTube channel. Yeah. It's because it's a Google product, just like any other Google product, Gmail, etc. You just register, start your YouTube channel. Doesn't cost you anything. You can earn money once you start getting enough views and subscribers. I think you need 1,000 subscribers, and I think it's 10,000 hours of watch time a month or something like that, which seems insane, but I've passed that threshold now. You can get there with consistent effort for sure. All right, Instagram. 1 billion active users. This is the one probably most of us are most familiar with in the craft world. It's kind of the platform for social media in the handmade industry. Second most engaged social network after Facebook. 71% of Instagram users are under 35. So if you are thinking about young audiences, very good place to be. Again, spend an average of 53 minutes, so approximately an hour a day on the platform. Who here, let's be honest, who here spends an hour or more a day on one social media platform? I don't know that I spend it on one, possibly. just looking at the I've been on Twitter a bit lately, but that's because of everything's been going on in the world, just like watching. I haven't really been interacting much, but reading stuff. I use it to get a lot of news and things like that. Instagram, I probably spend somewhere between 15, half an hour a day, not a great deal. Depends on whether I'm promoting something or working on something. Facebook, well, I'm on Facebook for quite a bit, but that's because I run a lot of my student stuff through there. That's what I spend time on Facebook for. So yeah, I'd say so. Yep. A little scared of YouTube. Is that because the idea of making videos, or is it the idea of like putting yourself out there? Because if it's the idea of actually making the videos, it can be really simple. I should probably do some teaching on that because it really doesn't have to be difficult. And there's some great editing software out there that's not expensive as well, it's pretty intuitive to use. Everyone's going, yep, we're on there for a lot of time. Okay, so Instagram's best for visual storytelling, so static assets. We all know about the beautiful Instagram feed, right, that we're all trying to get. Video content they're pushing really, really hard. There's like 5 different ways you can put video on Instagram now. We did a episode on the Business of Making podcast, my other podcast, about this recently. So on Instagram, you can do Instagram Live, you can do stories, you can do Reels now, which is like basically TikTok. So it's like they're ripping off TikTok basically there. You can do Instagram, what's it called? The IGTV. So was that 4? Yeah. So lots of ways to do video there. Oh, and you can just upload a 1-minute video to your timeline. There you go. That's 5. So yeah, lots of options for video. Not good for overly promotional spammy content. Yeah, it's more about storytelling, behind the scenes, showcasing your work, all that sort of stuff. Yes, you should. I'll add it to my list for next year to teach about how to do video well. How about that? To do some work, I'll do some stuff on YouTube and some stuff in the Thriver Circle for that. Remind me if I forget. I'm sure I won't forget. Nick can remind me. All right, so here's Twitter. 325 million active users, 63% are between 35 and 65 years of age. Female and male split there, more a male-dominated platform. I think Instagram's more a female-dominated platform. 40% of users have purchased something after seeing it on Twitter. Yeah, so short, quick content. So sharing updates, sharing little thoughts, things like that. So it was great for me in the beginning when I was like learning a lot of stuff and meeting a lot of new people. I don't use it too much these days because it's not the best platform for me, but I know a lot of crafters who do use it and can be quite successful on there. So it's definitely a platform to consider if you like short, sharp content rather than having to write like a blog post length caption on everything. Not that you have to do that, but that's sometimes what we feel like we have to do, right? And Pinterest, definitely tippy top of my list, because it's not really a social media. It is, we think of it kind of lumped in there with all the other ones, but it's more a search engine. It's more a visual search engine. There are social elements in that. You can follow people, you can comment on pins, but really think of it more as a search engine. It's a curation tool that people use, especially for events and like life events. People curate, when they're building a new home or doing updated decor, or for fashion reasons, or for weddings, or for birthday parties. Like, people use Pinterest to basically curate their lives in a visual format. So if you have a product that sort of lends itself to any of those things, which I'm guessing most of you probably do, that's why Pinterest is an excellent choice, because it is a visual platform. So if you have beautiful photos, which if you haven't, go do the photography workshop and you'll learn how to take beautiful photos, then it's a really great platform, and it is a good traffic driver, because every pin you can link directly to a product on your website or a blog post on your website, and people click on it, they take straight there. So Etsy, you can actually connect Etsy within Pinterest. There's a way to connect your Etsy shop with it, and people then when they see your pin will see like the price and all that sort of stuff as well. So it's great for visually based businesses like ours. Definitely highly recommend Pinterest. Question: have you tried selling on Instagram? I haven't, only because it won't work. I have tried to set up Instagram shopping on my ethereal page so many times, and it just gives me an error. So there's some bug in the system that I've never been able to fix, which is really frustrating. So I've never been able to set up Instagram shopping on my ethereal page. I know a lot of people do, and it works really well for them. And if you can, that's a good idea. But unfortunately, I don't know what the issue is. I've contacted Instagram, but they're notoriously hard to get any help from directly. So, yeah. In Keyshark, should you have the business version of Instagram or use the business tools in Pinterest? Yes and yes. You should sign up for a business account on Instagram. We'll talk more about there's a myth there that, if you sign up for a business account, you somehow don't get the same reach. Not true. We'll talk more about myths later on. Yes, you should have the business version of Pinterest because you then get access to analytics and you can see, and advertising. Same with Instagram, you can advertise. So the analytics in Pinterest is very useful, and there are other business tools there. So definitely, if you're doing it for business, get the business accounts. On advertising, I recommend, if you are going to advertise on Instagram or Facebook, don't boost posts directly from Instagram. Log into Facebook and set up Instagram ads through Facebook, because you can actually target your Instagram followers that way. They've brought that in recently. You can't target your Instagram followers directly by doing it through Instagram. It's just stupid, but this is the way it is right now. But you can do it via Facebook advertising now. You can target your Instagram followers. So there's a top tip for you. All right. Do I have any Pinterest videos? I'm not sure if I have. I do have one or two short videos on my YouTube channel, ones like why you should be using Pinterest for your business. I think there was another one as well. I have a whole workshop, kind of like these workshops. I have a whole workshop inside my membership community, the Thriver Circle, where I cover everything you need to know to get started with your Pinterest account. I did that recently. Some of you here may have even been at that workshop, I think possibly. So yeah, that is available in my membership community. Okay, so, right, so as they say, here's some questions to ask yourself before choosing. Now, obviously, we're going to think about what's comfortable for us, what platforms we enjoy, but it's also really, really important to think about your target market. And we talked a lot about that in yesterday's workshop, the branding workshop. I gave you a target market worksheet in that workshop to help you figure out who your target market actually is. So if you're not sure about that, go do that one and figure that out, because you want to know who they are and where they are. So what is your key demographic? Is it more male, female? What age? What sort of education level? What sort of income level? All that sort of stuff. So which platform are they on? How much time do I have to posting on social media? So be realistic here. If you only have half an hour a day, you're going to have to be really careful about what platform you choose and what you do with that platform. And what's the best way to showcase your items? Is it video? Is it images? Is it long captions to describe the story behind them? So think about what makes your items unique and who your key buyers are. And then you can choose the right platform for your items. So it's going to be different for everybody. Bing is just a search engine. So Google is a search engine. Bing is Microsoft's version of a search engine. That's all that is. The Pinterest challenge, yeah, so I ran the Pinterest challenge in my membership site in September, I think it was, and I run that every year around that time, where basically for a month every weekday I give you a tip about Pinterest, and we all we commit to spending 10 minutes a day working on our Pinterest. So that's a fun challenge as well. All right. Oh, thank you, Nick. Everybody's answering the question. All right, so that's awesome. Okay, so have a think about these questions and tell us in the chat. Who's your key demographic? Do you know who they are? How much time do you really have to devote to social media per day? And what do you feel is the best way? Not the most comfortable way, the best way. Because you might feel like images are more comfortable, but maybe a video would actually work really well for your products, and you just have to get over the learning curve of that. Have a think about it. Good question. For the Australian market, which platform is most popular? I don't know the answer for starters, but I don't imagine it's very different to the American market, which is what the statistics in this workshop are based on, because the content in this workshop comes from Etsy and they're American based. So I'd say it's very similar. We have very similar demographics to America. So yeah, I wouldn't imagine it's very different. Alvarez, is that my website that you mean? The membership is thrivercircle.com, and my normal website is createandthrive.com. Okay. So Jack said women 24 to 35 on Instagram, and feels like images are the best choice for him. Yeah, Instagram's, if you're going for young women, Instagram's definitely a very good choice. I'll just get to the next slide while I wait for any more of those to come through. So we're going to talk next about telling your story. So creating compelling narratives to increase your brand presence. Again, I will refer back to the brand workshop. Once you get your brand story and your brand promise and your unique selling point and all of those things worked out, this is going to be so much easier. If you really struggle with what to post on Instagram, and Facebook and Pinterest, like if you really struggle with what to talk about and what to focus on, chances are it's because you don't have a really strong brand developed. So you might not have a very strong brand story. You might not know what the key elements of your brand are that you actually want to communicate to your customers. Because once you have those key elements of your brand, the key values, the key points, your unique selling points, then you just use that stuff over and over again in different ways to tell the story of your brand. And that makes life a lot easier when it comes to using social media, because you're very clear on what sort of content works and would to share, and what sort of content not to share. So that's very important. Jack is short for Jackie. Thanks Jack. Laney said women 24 to 55, Instagram long captions, so interactive comments. Yep, that's good. Awesome. So finding the social media side of the business takes just as much time as making the product, and find it hard to keep up. Having said that, I'd like to do a couple of YouTube videos and see what happens. Yeah, it can be a job in and of itself, can't it? So it really is a challenge to keep up with it all. And that's why you have to be realistic about what you can actually do and what you can't. And look, let's be honest, it's going to be harder in the beginning because you're learning. It's a learning curve. It's always going to be more difficult. But then when you kind of get a bit clearer on it all, it becomes easier. And we're going to talk about doing like a content calendar in this workshop as well. So it's a great place to connect and learn from your potential buyers and repeat customers. And by telling a deeper branding story through video and static assets is the way to do it. So photos, just a nice photo there that would look really good on Instagram. And this is another thing about the different platforms, is the different sizes of photos and dimensions of photos. We're going to talk about that in a minute as well. So think about the imagery, and look, you're ahead of the game here because you're already going to have all of your product images which you can use. So for every product you're probably going to have multiple images, a main product image, you're going to have lifestyle shot, hopefully a packaging shot. Those are all pictures that you can just recycle and use on your social media, which is great. And then you might want to take additional photos as well. Question, do you use automated content uploads to save time? Sometimes. I don't tend to do a lot of that because at this moment in time, I don't plan my social media too far out ahead. I sort of work on a week-to-week basis and go, okay, well, what am I doing this week? What do I need to promote this week? What do I want to talk about this week? And then I'll upload content to do with that, basically. Everybody's different though. So photo styling. A lot of the same principles apply to styling social media photos that apply to styling your listing photos. If you're taking separate photos, props should be natural, relate back to whatever your item is, and be minimal. So think about sort of those sort of top-down shots. There's a name for it. Flat lay type of photographs, photos of your items being used. It's really great when you get customer photos. So when your customers send you really nice photos of your items being used, because I sell wedding rings, sometimes I get some really beautiful photos because they're professionally shot, which is really, really nice. And I do use those on my social media sometimes. And even on my website, if you go to my website, ethereal.com, just because it's, there's a bit more space to put images on there, you'll see pictures from my customers, quite a few of them on there. There is some on my Etsy shop as well, though, in my About section. I think there's one picture there from one of my customers' weddings, and also in my listings. So when customers send me a really nice photo of a ring from their wedding, I'll often ask their permission to put it in the product listing itself as just a lifestyle shot. So using all of those same sort of photos in your social media is great. So props, remember, always should enhance whatever you're trying to showcase, not detract or distract from your product. Okay, so here's your photo sizes. Again, remember, I'm sending you all of these slides. If you're on my Etsy mailing list, so if you're not, just head on over to createandthrive.com/Etsy. Nick will put the link in the chat, and I will, after this workshop, a couple of hours after the workshop, I'll send you a link to the recording and also a link to all of these slides. So you don't have to worry about missing any of the content. You can go back through them at your own pace as well. So here's just a couple of quick guides for you. It is frustrating because they're all so different. Facebook's landscape, Pinterest is portrait. So I generally default to taking my product photos, I crop them to fit sort of Etsy photo dimensions, and then I just make sure that the original edited version is big enough that I can then crop it down on different platforms and I can still see the product. But you need to think about that when you're taking photos for different platforms. Do I need to take this from a different perspective? All right. I just saw Hillary's comment, women 40 to 70 years old. I'd probably go for Facebook for that demographic. That's what I would go with, definitely. Okay, so video. Video is a great and effective way to tell a compelling narrative for your shop. Remember also, Etsy has introduced video in your product listings now. So you can, I think it's a 15-second video you can include in your product listings, which is really awesome. I've got a video up in some of mine. I plan on doing more in the future. People are enjoying video, that it's something that people love to. It's a very engaging, it captures people's attention, so it's a great idea. And as they say here, you can just shoot it on your phone. I mean, my phone, where's my phone? Here's my phone. My phone is just an Oppo phone, so it was like $500, which is cheap for a phone in Australia, and it shoots 4K. And I bought this a year ago. So you don't have to buy a super fancy, expensive phone in order to shoot high quality video. You can just, most of us probably will have a smartphone that is capable of shooting 4K video. And you don't even need to shoot 4K. You can just shoot high definition. So yeah, you can just definitely use your phone for all of your video. The key will be good lighting and having a steady hand. Just like with your product photos, you need to make sure that it's not shaky. So if you do have a shake, put it on a tripod, or hopefully most of our phones these days also have anti-shake built in. So yeah. All right. I'm curious to hear who has actually used video. Who already is using a little bit of video? Maybe it's just you're doing some Instagram stories. Maybe you have uploaded something to your Etsy shop. Let me know in the chat. All right, so here's a bit more detail on the video. Natural lighting is best if you can do it, but there's all the options for lights. I've got a softbox light just right over there. If I turn my head, you can probably see the reflection of it in my glasses, so to help fill in the light, because I've got windows all down this side of my room but nothing over this side, so that's just so I don't look like completely lit from one side or the other. So make sure if you are speaking to the camera, make sure it's loudly and clearly. Don't mumble, don't speak too fast. There are I do have it. There are cute little microphones like this one. This is a little shotgun microphone that actually just clips into, I had props today, people, just clips into your phone, and you can actually use that to get better quality sound. It's not necessary, but if you want to get better sound, something like that, or a lapel mic, a lavalier microphone, you can get them really cheap and just plug them directly into your phone to get much better sound quality, because sound is important. If you're talking to the camera, this is another trick, and I see people making this mistake all the time. if you're using the front facing camera so you can actually see what you're doing, don't watch yourself on the screen. You need to look into the camera lens, okay? I see people and they're watching themselves because it's a human thing. We want to look at ourselves, but you need to look into the lens, because by looking into the lens, you're actually making eye contact with the person watching the video. So you've probably seen videos like that where someone's eyes are off to the side. It's because they're watching themselves on the screen. Make sure to look into the lens. It helps create that connection. For in-feed videos on Instagram, they need to be under a minute, and it needs to crop to square. So remember that. And that goes for IGTV videos. Try to make your face in the middle so that when it crops it down, on your feed, you're still visible. So don't do it too close. Same thing for stories. If you want, what I tend to do for Instagram stories is I actually record the videos previously with just my video recorder. Keep them under 1 minute, because when you then upload it to stories, it will automatically cut that into 15-second intervals for you. But if you go over a minute, it'll cut off the rest of the video. So if you're doing stories, do individual 1 minute videos, then when you upload them, it will automatically cut them up for you. Or you can use another app to do that, but it's just a step that I try to avoid. Facebook videos should be at least 3 minutes in length, since longer videos tend to receive more engagement on the platform. So there's another tip for video. So let's see here. So you can definitely use a phone to shoot your YouTube videos. That's what at this moment in time, pretty much all of my YouTube videos I've shot on my phone. Right now I'm using a webcam for my face in this particular one, but generally I use my phone for YouTube videos, and I use my microphone that I have here, my proper podcasting microphone for the sound, and then I just, in the editing software, I put the two things together. It's not too challenging. Whole bunch of people, some people use some short videos. It can be time consuming, but once they're done. So that's good. Video on Pinterest, that's another one. So Pinterest, you can do video pins now, which is good. Cool. All right, so stories. Kind of what I mentioned there before, think about short, quick content. And the nice thing about stories is you don't have to worry too much about it all being perfect, because they only last for 24 hours and then they're gone. So I would say this is a really good place to start. If you are hesitant about videos, you feel a bit uncomfortable about it, start with Instagram and or Facebook stories, because worst case, it's gone in 24 hours. So you don't have to worry too much about having perfect lighting and perfect everything. Like what I generally do if I want to do an Instagram story is I'll just find a spot where I have nice natural light on my face. I'll hold my phone out and I'll just record. And I'll often, use my little shotgun microphone, because I can just chuck it into the slot there. And then that's it. Simple as that. I don't worry about, as those of you who know me, I don't really wear makeup or anything anyway. I think I have a little bit of powder on today just to cut down on the glare, but usually I don't even worry about that if I'm doing something like an Instagram story. As long as the lighting is good, you're good to go pretty much. Oh, you don't even have to worry about that. Like the content is the most important thing, really. So stories are a really, really great place to start. So the 15-second video clips. And you can do all sorts of fun things on there as well. Can you put a square size photo on Etsy? Great question. I think you can. You can put different dimension photos on Etsy. They just won't look up. They won't show up the best in thumbnails. That's what it comes down to. You've got to make sure that when people are viewing the thumbnails in your shop and in search, that your product still looks good in the photo. All right. So some more tips for stories. Talk about what you're doing, like what's the point of the story. The beginning of the story, then the middle of the story should be showing your followers like what you just talked about. So they give examples here, like the process of what I'm doing. Hey, today I'm going to show you how to do this, show them how to do that. And then the last frame is a wrap up. Thank you for watching. If you like this product, you can find it in my Etsy shop. My link is in my bio, that sort of stuff. And they say here aim for 10, 15 frames. It really depends on what you're doing as to how long it's going to be. But always remember, call to action. When you're doing social media posts, always have a call to action. Now, a call to action is something you want your followers to do when they've finished looking at, watching, whatever. So if it's Instagram post, maybe you ask them a question, maybe you direct them to a product in your store, maybe, so whatever it is, make sure there is some sort of ask in there. And it doesn't have to be a sales ask. It could be which color do you like better? Which option would you prefer? Another great thing about Instagram stories is all of the little options in there for doing a poll, asking a question. Polls are really good because it just requires somebody to tap yes or no, or the two options. So it's a really good way to get engagement and get people actually paying attention. So do take advantage of those tools. They can be really, really great for increasing engagement. And as you're about to find out later on, engagement is the holy grail of success on social media. Okay, how are we doing for time? Cool. All right, so engaging with your followers. Hey, that's convenient. That's what we're going to be talking about now. So creating meaningful relationships with your followers that can lead to stronger brand ties. So at the end of the day, the point of social media is to be social and is to actually create relationships with your potential customers and your customers. So that's why we want to focus on engagement, and all of the platforms will preferentially show your stuff to people if they have engaged with you in the past. So that's why engagement is really, really powerful. Another question, do stories all get to all followers at the top of their screen? Obviously not in the first, you see 3 or 4 or 5, I can't even remember. But then if they scroll for long enough, eventually, yes, they will see it. So it's a great way to have two-way conversations with buyers and form deeper relationships with them and learn from them. Actually, this is a really important part of social media, is to actually listen to your customers, and they can tell you what they want, and it's up to you to give them more of that. Okay, so Facebook. Here's the types of engagement we're looking at. Reactions, which were likes. Now there's lots of different options. Comments, left on posts. So this is in order of levels of engagement. Reactions, comments, a bit more engagement. Shares, this is what we want on Facebook, is for people to share our stuff with other people. And then messages, so when people actually contact you. So that's the different levels of engagement that you can have on Facebook. And you're always trying to get something above a reaction. You're always trying to get a comment or a share, or somebody to get in touch with you, or obviously go through and buy from you at the end of the day. So you want to focus on content that is more likely to get comments and shares. This is part of kind of what's wrong with social media in a lot of ways, is, everybody's probably noticed over the last decade or so that the sort of content that really gets traction on especially Facebook can be quite controversial or divisive. And the reason that it gets traction is because it creates a lot of engagement. So stuff then creates a lot of engagement will do well on the platform. So that's part of the ecosystem of the platform. Instagram, again, in order of levels of engagement, you've got likes. Those of you in other countries, can you see the number of likes on posts anymore? We can't see them in Australia. They took it away quite a long time ago now. Comments, great to see comments. And then if people are commenting, comment back. If you put a post up on any of these platforms, especially Pinterest and Instagram and Twitter, make sure to keep an eye on it over the next hour or two and comment as fast as you can back to people who have commented to you, because that increases your reach and the engagement on that post, and it makes it more likely to be shown to more people. So the more that you can yourself engage with people who are engaging with you, that will increase the reach of your post, so how many people it's being shown to. Shares, obviously you can't share directly, so people they can share to their stories, which is really nice. So for people to share to their stories, you can sometimes ask them to do that, if it's relevant. Direct messages or DMs, which is where they contact you privately. That's another thing that could be a call to action. DM me if you want to blah, blah, blah. DM me about this thing. And then saves is a really good one too, because people are actually hopefully planning to come back to it later, or to share it later or something like that. So if you see a lot of people saving your posts, that's really good as well. Oh, you can see likes in Canada. Okay, that's really interesting. Yeah, they took it away here, possibly last year. So all you can see is so-and-so and so-and-so another so-and-so and more people like this post. Like, they don't show you the number of likes anymore. The only way you can see it on your own post, if you go into your insights, you can see how many people are liking your post, but you can't see how many people are liking other people's posts. All right, YouTube. Similar, thumbs up, thumbs down, lowest level of engagement, but still good. The more thumbs up people give a video, the more reach it's likely to get. Comments, unless you turn them off like all these platforms, are great. And again, engage. If people are commenting, comment back. Subscribe is fantastic, because then, you know, you're in their ecosystem. They're more likely to see your videos in future. And alerts as well. So there's like the notification bell. People can choose to turn that on or off, so they can choose to get alerts or not when you post a new video. And Twitter, you've got likes again, retweets with comment or without comment. It's the next level of engagement where someone's sharing what you've done to either probably agree or disagree with you. Replies underneath the tweet, and direct messages as well. So you can see they're all pretty similar. Oh, you mean, yeah. No, I meant every other people's posts. So they're all pretty similar in that sort of hierarchy of engagement. Pinterest, a little bit different, because again, it's not really social media, it's more of a search engine. So as they say here, the nature of Pinterest doesn't really lend to engaging with consumers, because the goal of the platform is to get potential buyers to click through to your Etsy store or save your items to a board to revisit them at a later date. That's what you're focusing on. So saves, awesome. That's what you want, is people saving your stuff to boards, not only because then they have it, but also their followers might see it. And comments as well do exist. How often should you post? That's like asking, it's the old like, how long's a piece of string? There's no perfect answer. It really is it depends. And we'll get a bit more into that shortly. Regularly, consistently is probably the best answer I can give you there. I would say no less than once a week. If you want to actually build an engaged following on, say, Instagram, Facebook, etc., no less than once a week. Am I going to talk about influencers? No, that's not in the scope of this presentation today. It's a good question though. At least I don't think I am. I'm pretty sure we're not really covering that. Okay, so generating more engagement for your posts today. So as I say here, use Instagram and Facebook story tools like polls and questions to have your followers give inputs. Ask open-ended questions where people can give their responses. Use a hook at the beginning. So this is really important, especially on Instagram, because as you know, now all you see is that first 2 lines underneath a picture. So make sure you use a hook. So something to capture people's attention in that first sentence, whereby they're more eager or interested to expand the caption and actually read the whole thing. So think about like the way newspaper articles write. They always start off with the most important information first. That's the hook to capture people's attention, and then it goes from there. Include photos in all your posts on Facebook and Twitter as much as possible, and use emojis, because apparently if certain emojis like smiley faces can increase post engagement by 25%, and that's nothing to sneeze at. Okay, so some more engagement tactics. Live, like this. Who here has gone live? Let me know in the chat if you've done live stuff with your audiences in the past. Some great comments there on regularity. Yana's like, consistency of posting depends a lot on your customer. If you're aiming at teenage girls, 3 times a day is probably not enough because they're spending so much time on the platform. Yeah, but at the end of the day, you have to find that balance between what you can do and what works for your customers. Lani says daily gets you better results on Insta. Yeah, I think 3 times a week is kind of usually the recommended thing. No, people have not done lives so far. So live streaming, I actually really enjoy doing live stuff. I do live stuff multiple times a month inside my Thriver Circle. We do a live call where I do shop critiques and business intensives. I do a live workshop every month inside the Thriver Circle, which I really love doing because it gives me interaction with my students and my members. And I don't do a lot of public live stuff like this one, but I might do more in the future. I actually really enjoy it. It can be scary if you're not comfortable with public speaking, if you're not comfortable with being, in front of the camera. I'm thankful in that I was a teacher, so you kind of have to get over worrying about being in front of a group of people and talking if you're going to be a teacher. And it helps if you know what you're talking about. If you know what you're talking about, it's not hard to do a live because it just flows from you. It only really gets challenging and scary if you're teaching something or talking about something you don't understand, and you're probably not going to do that. But the more you do it, the better. Probably a low-key place to start would be like Instagram Live. It's a bit more, it feels a little bit less threatening than like maybe YouTube Live, because on Instagram, chances are only your followers are going to find it. On YouTube, you're more likely to potentially get randos finding you, which, might be a bit more of a concern. But yeah, it can be something really, really fun. So invite people to talk to you ahead of time. It's a really good way to build engagement. If you have the sort of business that it makes sense to actually engage in live with your customers. I think a lot more people are discovering it this year because of COVID. We've all been locked down. A lot of people are doing like live product launch videos on Facebook. I've done that. I did it last year. I did like a wine and earrings sort of evening where I just got on live and had a glass of wine and was showing people, like showcasing the new designs that I'd made, and that was really fun. So you can do stuff like that, and obviously you let your community know ahead of time, so it's a marketing thing to build up a bit of buzz as well. All sorts of different ones, Iris. Yeah, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Instagram Live. You can do live on all those platforms. Live meditations, that's cool. A live shop sale close to Christmas. Yep, that's a really good idea. Thank you. I think it's also that I'm Australian and we don't tend to talk as fast as Americans. So we have a bit more of a laconic, laid-back speech pattern. So yeah, I try not to talk too fast, definitely. You've done workshops on self-sufficiently, live in a hall, but video scares you. Okay, yeah. It is different to doing it with other people. Like, because when you're doing like teaching live or doing it in real life, in the analog world rather than the digital world, then you can see the other people. You can see their faces, you can see their reactions. Whereas when you're doing it to a camera, you can feel a bit weird because you're not getting that feedback from your audience. Like when you are teaching to a live audience, you can work off their energy. If they're feeling a bit low, you can G them up, or if they're a bit excited, so it's a bit of a feedback loop that you don't have so much when you're doing online live. But that's why the chat's really nice, because you get feedback and interaction from your people that way. Okay. You can invite guests to talk with you. So one of my students, Shireen from Smeeny Beanie Nets, does this regularly. She does like an Instagram live interview, I think once a week, with like another crafter, and they talk about their business. It's really fun. I did one with her about a month or two ago now, and that's a really great idea, like having that live conversation. It's really fun because not only are the two people talking in live time, all the people watching can comment and interact as well. Okay. So, the benefits of engaging with your followers. Building engagement can obviously improve the relationship you have with your customers. But of course, as I said earlier, the higher the engagement, the higher the reach. So reach is the measure of how many people see your post, right? So I'm going to just read this bit out. So a bit of insight on how social media algorithms work. Contrary to rumor and hearsay, people who follow you will eventually be served your content, but those who are highly engaged with the content will see it sooner. Now, this obviously is limited by how much time someone spends on the platform. If they follow 3,000 people, they're not going to scroll through, unless they're addicted to that platform. They're probably not going to scroll through long enough to see all of your posts, right? But if they engage with you once, your posts will then be served higher up in their queue, right? So you'll probably notice whenever you log onto Instagram or Facebook, you see the stuff from the same people over and over again. It's because you've engaged with them in the past, and so the algorithm learns to show you their stuff first. This is why, if from a business perspective, if you can get engagement regularly with lots of people, the more the better, that means that it's more people who are seeing your content first when they get on the platform, and are therefore more likely to engage with it again. So it's a bit of a sort of race there between all of the people who they follow, who's going to show up on, towards the top of their feed. Instagram and Facebook, they're designed to keep users engaged. They want to keep people on the platform for as long as possible, so they give you more of the content you've enjoyed in the past. That is the whole point of the platform, is to keep you there and show you ads. That's how they make their money. So they want to show you more of the content you have enjoyed in the past. Okay. Just catching up on chat. Okay, cool. All right, so let's break down some of these myths that we've talked about. Here's some things to consider. Using engagement pods, so a group of people who promise to like, comment, share on each other's post. Can that help my post show up higher in the feed? False. Most social media algorithms are powered by machine learning, so when they spot inauthentic engagement, they can course correct, and it may end up hurting your chances of being seen in the feed at all. Buying followers will help me grow my business. No, don't ever do that. I don't think any of you would, but don't even consider it. It's just, they're often fake accounts or bot accounts, and it's not worth it at all. So my posts will be seen less if I use a business account on Facebook and Pinterest. Not true. Accounts, regardless of the type, will be served based on whether or not people engage with you and your content. That's what matters, is engagement. Posting more often will increase the reach of my account. True, if merely for the fact that the more times a day you post, the more opportunity there is to have your content being seen by your followers, right? So if this is the approach you're going to take, be careful not to be overly promotional in your feeds. Like, don't be posting buy my stuff 3 times a day. Make sure you're posting other content. So this is, posting regularly, it's like multiple times a day, is not something you have to do at all. It's not something that many of us can do because we just don't have the time to keep up with that volume of content. And big companies can do it because they literally have people whose entire job is to update their social media. We don't have that luxury, so we just have to work out what the best middle ground is for us. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about building a social media calendar. Planning your content ahead of time is good if you want to take advantage of holidays and special events, especially. There's a whole bunch of examples here. Now, this is also really important as a handmade business owner. Just in general, you do have to think a few months ahead if you are going to take advantage of sales events. So if you want to be selling for Father's Day, you're going to have to be starting marketing for that, like possibly 2 months ahead of time if you sell internationally, just because of the lead times of orders and shipping and all that sort of stuff. You can't be selling Father's Day stuff a day before Father's. It's just, there's no time. There's no time to make it. There's no time to ship it. So you do have to think ahead of time. So this is where sitting down, looking at a calendar of the year or the next 6 months or something like that is really good, because you can go, okay, are there any particular events that I want to hit? Are there any particular times of year I want to do a launch that will work really well for me? If you're selling winter goods and you're selling within your own country, so if I was selling knitwear here in Australia, I would probably want to start marketing around April, because that's autumn going into winter. So I'd want to get my stuff out in middle of autumn, or maybe a little bit earlier, and start marketing it from there. So same sort of thing. So think about that sort of stuff with your calendar in the long run. Sorry, this is a bit of lots of text on this screen, but that's pretty much what I've talked about. So look at the year or the calendar holistically. Think about how often you're going to post content. So Etsy here, I have given some information about how often they do it. So 2 times per day on their major channels, but they have a whole team of people who do this. A whole team of people who look ahead of time, who plan the posts, who upload the posts, who do the engagement and the commenting and all that sort of stuff. So they recommend 3 times per week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, for example. make sure to look at when your people are active. So look in your Instagram or your Facebook or your Pinterest analytics. Go have a look, and it will tell you when your followers are most active, what days they're most active, what times they are most active. And although gone are the days where as soon as you uploaded a picture to Instagram, it would be at the top of everybody's feed. I miss those days. It's still the case that you want to be posting when people are the most active, because that is when it is most likely that they will be served your post on the platform, right? So do that little bit of an investigation and have a look at when your people are the most active on the platform. So then if you have a plan set, write your content in advance if this works for you. You might be more be a person who likes to fly by the seat of your pants and do stuff a bit more spontaneously. But even if that's the case, still have a plan. Like, well, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays is when I update my social media, so I need to find something on those days to talk about, or I need to make sure I'm taking a picture or taking a video and uploading it on those days. They schedule ahead. Nice thing about that, as I see here, is backlog of content. If you schedule ahead and something goes pear-shaped and you can't keep up for some reason, it's already happening automatically. So that's always a nice thing. All right, so let's talk a little bit about metrics and measuring success now. Okay, so here's some examples of units of measurement. So engagement rate, the number of engagements on your post divided by the reach. So the number of people who saw your content. So out of all of the people who saw your content, what percentage of those people actually engaged with it? It's your engagement rate. Your video view rate, again, the number of video views divided by reach. Click-through rate, same thing. Shop visits. This is the holy grail, really, is who is actually coming to my shop. So that's where you want to go into your Etsy stats and have a look at it's all broken down in there by different social media platforms, by different products. It's really, really great. If you've never delved into your Etsy stats, then I highly recommend you do that, because at the end of the day, it's all well and good getting lots of engagement on your Instagram posts and lots of people liking it and lots of people talking to you. But if literally none of them are ever buying from you, what's the point? Right? The point at the end of the day is to get customers. So you need to make sure that you're keeping that in mind. Always keep it in the back of your mind, is to get people to your shop. So whether that's through building really good relationships with people, whether that's by making sure that you do have sales posts in there, make sure that you are checking to see if people are actually clicking through to your shop from that platform. You might find you're spending 5 hours a week on Instagram and getting 5 people click through to your shop, but you're spending an hour a week on Pinterest and getting 30 people clicking through to your shop. That should kind of give you a moment of, where could I be better spending my time? This is why it's important to look at your stats and look at what's actually happening in your shop stats. Where are your customers coming from? And how can you get more people coming from that platform with less effort and time and work? All right. So they're talking more about engagement. We've pretty much covered all of this, so I won't go into it in any more detail. But the main takeaway here is look at the posts that are doing well, try to figure out why they're doing well, and try to do more of those sort of posts. That's the long story short. Look at which posts are successful, why are they successful, do more of that sort of content, because that's obviously what your audience is enjoying. So click-through rate and shop visits, as I talked about. So the click-through rate, it's annoying on Instagram because you can't put links in the actual post, right? You can only put links in your bio. You should definitely have, unless your Etsy shop is the only thing you're doing, in which case you can just put your Etsy shop in your Instagram bio as your link. But if you have multiple platforms, say you sell on your own website, you sell on Etsy, maybe you have other social media links you want people to go to, make sure to create a links page for your Instagram link. You can use something like Linktree, or if you have your own website, you can literally just set up a page on your website with those links as buttons, and then make that page the Instagram link so that people can easily find all of the things. There's like 10 things on my Instagram link, because there's like my YouTube channel, my podcast, my shops, all sorts of different stuff on there. Yeah, so obviously all of that stuff, the Etsy backend is in the stats, so you can go use that as well. All right. Whew, covered a lot. Let's do a quick wrap up. So, as we all kind of on the same page about the idea that social media can be quite daunting, so these are the steps you want to follow. Take a look at your audience, see which platforms they're on, and devote your time to those channels. Start off small. You don't need to post every day. Try posting 3 times a week. The important thing is consistency. Build out your calendar in advance if that works for you, and be sure to check timing to find out when your people are online. Measure your content and try to replicate the content that is performing well and driving traffic to your shop. And have fun. It is supposed to be fun, so don't be afraid to have a bit of fun on the platform and actually enjoy what you're doing as much as you possibly can. Let your personality come through. Don't try to be the corporate robot. We're not that. We don't have to try to pretend to be that. Remember to keep your language in line with your branding and with your brand story and your brand personality. But hopefully that means you can pretty much be yourself as much as possible. There may be some little things like, swearing, for example. Is that part of your brand story or not? Maybe you do it in real life, but you don't do it as part of your business communication. Just those little tweaks. But generally speaking, don't be afraid to be who you are on social media, because people will connect with people and people will connect with you if you're authentic. All right, just a final reminder with the check-in. If you came late, this is just a request. Etsy asks that everybody attending this workshop does just check in over at this link. It lets them know that you participated. It lets them know that I wasn't just talking to nobody. And I am Jess V. That is the presenter name that you have to choose. Yeah, and they will also keep in touch with you and send you other future promotional information from and information about the Etsy program. So Nick will pop that link in the chat again for you. Inky Shark, should you follow everyone who follows you? No, only follow people who you want to follow. It's weird, that people, I think this is a holdover from ye olde days, but this idea that you have to follow everybody who follows you. I only follow people who I want to see posts from. I think that's the best use of the platform. There's plenty of people who follow me who I don't follow, and that's not a personal slight against them. It's just that, maybe I haven't looked at their profile. Maybe it's just not somebody I want to follow at that time. For me, it's literally, I don't often look through at new followers. I probably should do more of that, to be honest, but it's a good way of building engagement. If somebody's just followed you, go and actually like and comment on a few of their posts, sort of say, hey, I've seen you, I understand you're here. So yeah. All right, any last questions? Now's the time to pop them in the chat. So Tracy said, my IG is personal. When I decide to start my business and convert to a business account, what do I do with what's already posted there? Do I delete them and start over? You can archive them. So there's an archive function in Instagram where it just takes them off your feed, but you can always unarchive them in the future if you want to save them or whatever. You can download the pictures as well. So just archive the stuff you don't want on your feed for sure. Oh yeah, and just a reminder, if you want to download the slides, head on over to that link. Nick will pop it in the chat. If you're watching the replay, it's in the description below. Head on over to createandthrive.com/EtsyU, all lowercase. It won't work if it's not lowercase. All right, I'll just check if I've missed any questions. Please do post any last questions now in the chat. Here's one from Chris. Would you use video on each product of a group of similar products in one video, or one video on all? It kind of depends. You could do both. So if you want to do separate videos for separate products, you could do them on different, like if you're doing a launch of 5 products, you could do one product a day for 5 days on video, or you could just do like a longer YouTube live where you actually introduce all the products at once. It depends on the platform as well. Eric's asking, ads on Facebook and Etsy ads, how good are they? It really depends. It depends on how good you are. Well, with Facebook ads, it depends on how good a job you do of targeting them and having good content that people actually will engage with. And that is the eternal battle of all people in advertising throughout all of time, is trying to work out, have I got the right content and am I serving it to the right people? The benefit of something like Facebook or Instagram ads is you can serve your ads only to the people who already follow you, so you know they're already interested in your product, or you can serve ads to people of a certain demographic, so you're not wasting your money serving ads to people who probably aren't interested in your product. So that's why Facebook and Instagram ads are incredibly popular, and you can do quite well with a low budget. You know, imagine the old days where if you wanted an ad in a magazine, on a page in a magazine, it'd be thousands upon thousands of dollars to get that, or a TV ad, tens of thousands of dollars, whereas you can do an Instagram or Facebook ad for like $100 and get a decent amount of click-throughs from that. Etsy ads, I find Etsy ads perform pretty well for me. So I have Etsy ads and offsite ads enabled because I don't have a choice, because the Etsy ads I have a choice but the offsite ads I'm over the threshold, so they're enabled by default. I certainly get a lot more, like my return on investment for ads on Etsy is quite good. So for every dollar spent I earn kind of $3, generally speaking. That's my experience. Everybody's experience will differ. It'll depend on which products you advertise, how much you spend each day, etc. So there's a lot of variables there. That would be a whole nother workshop in and of itself, which is something I may do in future, but I haven't done at this point. Thank you for all the thank yous. I'm glad you've enjoyed it. Thank you for all of you who are here today, and thank you for everyone who's made all 3 workshops. That's a big commitment, so I really appreciate you coming and spending that time with me this week. I found giveaways or contests are good to get engagement with Facebook and Instagram ads. Yep, definitely contests. People like a giveaway, so that's a great way to get engagement, definitely. Awesome. You're welcome, Melissa. Roy, fantastic. So glad you've enjoyed it. Any last questions, people? I'll give it another minute and then I'll wrap up if I don't get any final questions. Just remember to go sign up to get the slides if you would like to over at that link. Lanny's just said, I've recently tried Etsy ads for the first time in 5 years and they're working really well. So that's great to hear. Elizabeth, I would like to use only Instagram and YouTube, but I would like to use a business Instagram account and this personal YouTube channel. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, just use the YouTube channel you have. It's fine. Like my YouTube channel is Jess Van Den. My business accounts are under different names. So that's because I want to use my YouTube channel for both of my businesses and other stuff. So I'm not limiting my YouTube channel to just Create and Thrive. Although that's pretty much all I do right now. I have plans to possibly expand the sort of content I'm doing. So that's why it's under my name. Yes, thank you, Nick, for being here in the background and putting all the links up. Keeping an eye on all the comments for us. Awesome. Remember, if you want to access the other workshops, they are all available on my YouTube channel. The branding workshop, the product photography workshop, and the search engine optimization workshop are all available on my YouTube channel right now. And the recording of this one will be up within the next few hours once I get it all edited and uploaded. Thank you for subscribing, Eric. Yeah, if you're not a subscriber, please do subscribe to my YouTube channel. I do regular videos on handmade business stuff, and I have a whole bunch of other Etsy videos there as well. I have like an Etsy section on my channel where you can see Etsy specific stuff, and I have a whole bunch of other handmade business videos also. Awesome. Yes, please do catch up. Fantastic. Thank you all, everybody. I'll see you hopefully around the place in YouTube comments or on Instagram. I'm at Create and Thrive if you want to talk to me over there. And also, of course, over at Create and Thrive, my website. You're very, very welcome. I was glad to do these live and for everybody. Okay, I think I'll wrap things up there. Have a wonderful day, evening, morning, night, wherever you are. Do make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already, and you'll be notified then when I post future videos, as I will throughout the years to come, hopefully, all being well. I've actually just really started YouTube properly this year. I've had my channel for like 10, 12 years, but I haven't really done a lot with it. But I'm really enjoying it, so I will definitely be here on YouTube more often going forward. Thanks everyone. Bye for now.